But hey folks, I've always strongly believed that debate, offering a controversial opinion, forces nuances, forces growth. You learn more about the macro environment. You start going back and redoing your homework, damn it. And if you're buying individual stocks thinking you're going to get coddled all the way to a multi-million-dollar early retirement, you're going to be joking yourself if you don't think it's going to be met with absurd criticism. Use Tesla as an example, one of the most controversial stocks in 2019 that I bought, and through a lot of luck and the right risk tolerance, because again, I think a lot of how people make money in the markets comes down to risk tolerance and luck. You know, who would have thought that Tesla would have started posting positive numbers? Even though the stock was really overvalued at the time, they posted positive numbers. They got listed on the S&P 500 index. That forced hedge funds, ETFs, to weight this company and load capital in them, which exploded Tesla even farther. But people will sit here and act like because they did all this due diligence, they made all this money, and that was the raw fact that got them to where they were. And that's probably a piece of it, but I think luck was a greater fortitude to that reality. And I always just want to point that out because I look at myself as a clown. I am here for entertainment value, and all these people we're about to talk about on YouTube, they will not admit to being clowns. They're going to act smarter, more due diligent than the guy next to them, and I love that argumentative debates. It really leads to that growth. But again, the reality is here, guys, I don't think they know what they're doing any more than you do, and I can prove that because coming from a guy with no economics degree, coming from a guy that didn't make more than $50,000 a year for the last decade, who's made the vast majority of his wealth off stock market investing from his parents' basement, even in this current moment, doing this pivotal shift at Q1, Q2 of last year, still has led me to do incredible performance. A lot of the companies now in my investment accounts are proving green into 2023, which is astounding, getting really juicy dividend income. And I'll always show you something most YouTubers won't, which is the actual performance of these accounts. I've dramatically outperformed in the last several years the likes of Berkshire Hathaway, which I'm not trying to gloat on that one because God knows his performance over his lifetime will probably far surpass mine, but a lot of these YouTubers will not be able to show you charts that look like this. And again, I'm not stating that as a brag, just to prove to you that anybody can actually do this. So let's talk about these two YouTubers. I want to just talk about some hypocrisies behind Everything Money, and I want to talk about Jeremy with this shorting of the Dow and the stuff that he's doing that I just find controversial and doesn't make a lot of sense. But with Everything Money, I always find their channel a little bit hypocritical to some degree because we got Paul here, which is a pronounced value investor selling software to find the best value stocks, and even the ones he finds and buys still drop another 50% from when he thinks they're a good buying opportunity. Because again, the stock market itself is disconnected from the businesses. Keep that in mind. Stock market's pure fugazi, has been, always will be. But again, hopefully over the long periods of time, the stock market's a weighing machine, in the short term it's a voting machine, but who the hell knows? Then we got Trader Mo over here, which for an Everything Money, highly focused value investor guy like Paul to be partnering with a trader seems more like a business move than a value investor move. Because the fact of the matter is I know people that have made a lot of money day trading stocks and continue to. I always still believe that it's mostly just star signs. It's like you're just drawing random lines on charts, looking at candlesticks, and when all these traders are doing the same thing, you can predict movements in the macro. It's probably just self-fulfilled prophecies more than it is, actually knowing what's going on through this randomized idea of strategy. And even if we ask ChatGPT, the odds of making money off trading stocks, well, the odds of making money day trading stocks are very slim. Day trading stocks is a highly risky endeavor, and the vast majority of traders lose money. The stock market is highly unpredictable, and most day traders are unable to successfully time the market. Additionally, day trading stocks carries high transactional costs, which can significantly reduce the profitability of any trades. So I don't have to be a financial advisor. I got damn ChatGPT here. And we all know, and this is something, Paul pronounced as a value investor, that, over a 20-year period in the S&P 500, what are the statistics of you losing money? Well, lately, since the inception, it's been zero. So the path of least resistance to building wealth has always generally remained the same, which is long-term cost average investing, which is something I appreciate from Everything Money. They do tout that a lot, which is probably the best advice they offer. But then Paul will come out and say something stupid like this.
I don't believe in a rainy day fund. However, if you need to be able to sleep at night, you should have a rainy day fund.
Now, I've argued this before, but not having an emergency fund in this day and age is insane. And coming from someone that's been through job loss, that's, seen high expenses through family emergencies, it's nice having that emergency fund, something I learned through the pandemic. Most people have kids, most people own homes. Most people are in situations where they think what Paul's saying here is, I need to invest because it takes a long time to come up with 6 months of an emergency fund. I don't think, maybe depending on your living circumstance, 10, 20 grand, probably all you're really going to need. But the fact is when an emergency hits or you have a job loss, it's during the worst time to own investments, like recessionary environments, like right now, where job losses are happening like crazy. And you don't want to be in a situation where you have to pull against your stocks to live or take on super high credit card debt, which greatly hinders your long-term growth into retirement to live and deal with that emergency. So I think it's something that every financial advisor at this point agrees on, and yet Paul is just taking an opposite stance. But we're talking about a guy that I don't know how much money he made off stock market investing, but we all know he inherited the vast majority of his wealth. Not a guy that, was struggling, making small ends meet, living in his parents' basement. He's living on his parents' yacht by the sounds of it, but it's just me poking the bear here. Take it for entertainment value. But let's talk about Jeremy real quick, who I talked about taking on some interesting bets that and again, these are bets, they're speculations. Anytime you're speculating in the future, it's a coin toss. Tesla could have been very much pronounced a coin toss, which he made most of his money on in the last year or two. None of the other stock picks have been an absolute detriment, which proves that strategy and doing all this due diligence didn't really pay off outside of Tesla form. But capital preservation is key. This is something he states in this video as he tries to explain why he's shorting the Dow, which is something I criticized him for, because he's looking at protecting his capital. The guy that's loading up on Shopify, loading up on Amazon, like loading up on these companies like Tesla, but then trying to say he's protecting his capital preservation by making a short bet on a broader based index that doesn't hold really any of the stocks that he's buying, which to me, I thought the whole point of taking a short hedge bet was to protect yourself against the stocks you owned. And there's a real predicament when you're talking about capital preservation, when you're shorting a whole nother index, which could very likely lose money. Like the Dow could easily go up, and this triple leverage short ETF could completely lose you a ton of money at the same time that Amazon, Shopify continue to drop. So there's no like actual protective hedge here, which I just find interesting. But Jeremy, I also don't think, like myself, as I mentioned, don't take my investments here as an idea of the scope of what I'm doing, because I have other investments I don't share on this channel. Jeremy, I'm sure, has his wife's portfolio. He probably owns a ton of other assets. He mentions here he owns real estate. So keep it in mind that his risk tolerance can take on some of these more speculative based investments. But I want you to know that speculation is a coin toss. When you're shorting companies, when you're doing this crazy stuff that Jeremy does, it's mostly speculative in nature, and there's no way you can put a thesis behind it outside of that, in my humble opinion. So look, when it comes to learning financial advice on YouTube, take what we post here as a fellow community of finfluencers as an educational entertainment piece. Again, I am a clown. Jeremy is a clown. Everything Money are clowns, but they will not admit it. But they also, a lot of them are transparent, which is something I can really appreciate from Jeremy, pure raw transparency. And if there's one thing that I always feel bad for is these YouTubers that have come and gone. I mean, over the last 5 years, how many YouTubers have you watched that no longer post content because they can't handle the heat of what's going on in the markets, and they typically made really bad decisions and they didn't want to take criticism for it, and they just upped and bailed, maybe made some money off you guys and left, something that I will never do. That's the point of this YouTube channel, is long-term transparency, whether I do good or bad. And if you wish to see further clarity within my life, my own personal finances, join me on Patreon. I appreciate the several of you that already have. I posted tons of personal content I will not share on this YouTube channel, unsolicited and unsponsored, but you can always come back here completely for free, because I appreciate every single one of you that watch these videos. But as always, debate me. Let me know your thoughts. I always enjoy contradictive opinion in that comment section below.